Hey, welcome back to Crash and Burn RC. I'm Ken. Today we're going to show you how to take apart and put back together an airbrush. Very easy, something you need to know. Let's go check it out. Okay, let's get into this. Let's see, we are going to start by taking off, we're going to start on the front end, work our way to the back end here. So first thing we're going to do is remove the needle cap or needle crown. Next we're going to take off the nozzle cap here, and then we're going to take off the fluid nozzle. Use the wrench to get in there and be careful, that thing is a tiny little sucker. Like that. Put it somewhere you're not going to lose it. Then I'm going to run into the back end here, take the handle off, release the chucking nut, and then slide your needle out. Also on these, if they don't have like a ball at the front, at the back, some needles will have this ball type deal at the end, which I don't like. Because a lot of times if you got a lot of paint in your gun left over, you can just push this forward and pull it out the put the needle forward and pull it out the front. That way it won't leave the the paint running through your gun like that. So anyways, now we're going to start into the back. Now that we got the needle out, we can take the trigger out right there, and I'm going to take off the chucking nut. Then I'm going to take out the spring guide, just unscrew it, and then the whole thing comes out. Which what you have here, this is called the spring guide, the spring, and your chucking guide, and then the lever. Sometimes this is not attached. The lever is not attached to the needle guide. Those are the parts, and I think that's it. Back together, is going to be the same way, just in reverse. So let's start out where we left off. I'm going to put together the assembly here with the needle guide, spring, and then your spring guide. Make sure that that's moving freely here, and then we're going to put the chucking nut on the back. I like to just tighten it down for now, and then we're going to insert into the back. And make sure do not put it in like this. You want to put it in leaning forward like that, right into the gun. Then you'll see the tab come up right here. That looks pretty good, and then we'll just screw it all the way down. All the way in. Okay, I got it all the way in. Then I'm going to back it off about a quarter to a half turn, whatever suits you. And my lever's still visible here. Also, you can play with the tension by backing this out even further or cranking it down. It's not a big difference. I can't feel much of a difference, but they say that you can play with the tension there. Now you got two choices. We can start on the front end here, which I'm going to do. I'm going to go right to the front end because we got pretty much everything done back here. Let's put the fluid nozzle back on, and it's so tiny that some people, and including myself, sometimes have trouble getting it onto the threads here. So what you can do is put your needle, let's remember that, unscrew that, and then we're going to slide the needle in from the back. Then I'm going to push the needle out front here. Sometimes you can just get that fluid cap, nozzle cap, nozzle, that's what it is, the nozzle, and slide it back on there. And then with this loose, so your needle slides back and forth, you can push the nozzle right into the threads and screw it right in there like that. Sometimes that's easier just to get it lined up. It's so small that sometimes it's trouble. I'm going to back this out a little bit. I'm going to tighten down the chucking nut, holds the needle in place. Then I'm going to take the wrench, and this is the critical part, is I'm going to get it to where it stops, and then just apply a little bit of pressure just to tighten it up a little bit. I've done it before, where I crank down on the nozzle, and it'll start screwing back into the part itself. You screw it in, and then the nozzle will go all the way in like this, and then your gun's shot. Basically your whole gun's shot, because it's the housing that's screwed up. So you either get a new housing or a new gun like I did. Fortunately, I did it on a cheap gun. But I learned my lesson. So now you just want to get it snug. Nice and snug is all you need for that nozzle. Then we're going to put on the nozzle cap. And I like to put on a little bit. You can put Teflon tape on there. You can put a little strip of Teflon tape and wrap it around these threads. And you can also do it for this nozzle. I didn't do anything right now, but I'm going to try in the future. Put a little bit of chapstick on there. Just around on the threads. Like such. Trying not to get any on your nozzle, obviously. And then you screw on the nozzle cap. Like that. Then you want to give that, no pliers on this one. You want to just hand tighten it a nice snug fit there. And then obviously this needle cap is just for protection for your needle. You don't need to seal that up. All right, let's go back again. I'm going to take the needle out right now because we're going to put the trigger in there. Sometimes this can get tricky. There is a hole down there for the valve, and that little point has got to go down into the valve. And then also, before you do that, this one's just completely round, but some of them have, like on this gun right here, this one has a bevel in it so that the high point is in the back and it gives you something to grab onto like that. So you want to check that before you put your needle in to get it oriented correctly. This one here, it just has a circular trigger, so it doesn't matter. Now, one thing you would want to make sure is that it's got the slot in it. It's got a slot in it, and this is where your needle is going to go in once you get it all together. Your needle will fit in there like that. So you want to get that slot orientated right. So I'm going to pull back on the chucking assembly here, and I'm going to try to slide that. Like I said, this can be tricky. If I take too long, I will speed it up. I just want to get it in there. You got to play with it. See, what you're doing is pulling back on the chucking to get the lever back out of the way. And kind of doing this off to the side of the camera too, so it makes it even another added element of difficulty. There we go, got it on that one. Check it, make sure it's bouncing up and down and that it's going back and forth. So now that's good. Now remember, the needle's not in there, so if you start playing with it and stuff, your trigger's bound to fall out again. So what we're going to do is undo the checking nut here. Get this started in the back all the way to the front, and you want to just push this in with a finger like that, and then once it hits the end, you just stop and just crank it down. Don't push too hard. Don't try to push it and tighten up the checking nut all together. Just put it till it stops. Do that. If you feel it stop short, then you want to back up and figure out why it's stopping there. You know, maybe turn the needle a bit and push it in, see if you can get a nice smooth insertion all the way to the tip. Now there's a packing seal in here about here, so once you get to that packing seal, that's what stops the paint from going back into the gun. So obviously you're going to have a little bit of resistance, but it should feel like a soft, snug type of resistance. It shouldn't stop the needle. So when you hit that, you just want to feel some friction as you go through, and then once it hits the nozzle, it stops and you tighten it down. Then, of course, the handle, and that's it. You are completely done.